back, everybody, to the SmallTown Collectibles YouTube channel. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr. My guest today does not need any introduction. You see him on Instagram, on YouTube, Insta Mondays, Monday Mania, Facebook Fridays, all giving away crazy books all the time. So everybody join me in welcoming to 10 questions from Street Level Hero LA and that Spider-Man booth, JPG McFly.
Thank you for having me. When you invited me with the 10 questions, I was like, oh, that looks like fun. So let's have a little fun.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on, and I know you're limited on time, so we'll just kind of jump into it. So question number one, and it's the question that I ask everybody that comes on here. The first question is, what or who got you into collecting?
Who is my mom. If you guys know my mom, it's Photobomb Mom. You guys in the community, she photobombs everybody, McFarlane, everybody. But she had a passion for collecting, going to antique stores when I was a kid, just going to the swap meet. I was like, why are we at the swap meet? I didn't know that it was. Now when I'm older, the swap meet is fun. But she had that passion for collecting things and buying things and having exquisite things. And what got me into collecting, or at least definitely emphasized it, was the Exodus event in the 90s.
Sure.
Where Todd the God McFarlane and that whole little team, did the little this show and left Marvel and made comic books basically the biggest pop culture thing in the world. So everybody jumped on. It emphasized my love, and when everybody jumped off, I still stayed. Yeah.
So quick question: swap meet. What exactly? So I told you I live in Eastern Kentucky, and we have something called a flea market. And is that what a swap meet is?
It's same thing.
Okay, all right. So I just kind of wondered that. Thank you. So question two, and maybe a lot of people know this. I don't know. Like I said, I'm fairly new back into collecting, and really just kind of came upon Street Level Heroes and that Spider-Man booth probably in the past year. Started buying the V15, or I think I started at V12, V13. Then I buy, on the Monday Manias, things like that. You're welcome. So, but how did you get started? Like, was it just like a side hustle to begin, and then it just grew into, what you have now? I just want to know a little bit about like the history of it, like how you got going.
Yeah, well, basically it stems off from like my mom and the passion of collecting, collecting baseball cards, collecting comic books, reading, loving comic books. And, it's just, I'm just like everyone else out there. You bought, let's just say you buy whatever, this book, right? You bought it for a dollar, right? Back then, books, at least when we were our age, were $1.75. Bought it for $1. And then it went up to $2. So basically, you sell this for $2, and now you have, 2 books, and maybe if you get lucky kids, and this one goes for. And basically, comic books always go up, so that's why it's so addicting that you could flip and get the books that you want and be like, oh, okay, cool, that one up. Oh, I don't even want that much. Let's sell it. So, and the name, that Spider-Man booth, the whole reason that Spider-Man booth came about is because I was getting a booth at the world famous Frankensons. If you guys are from Southern California, you guys know that. And then there's all these major stores, like if you're from down here, Comic Book Madness, Amazing Comic Con, even Torpedo used to be there, just major stores. And I was just like, and back then, now it's a little bit different, but back then, I always said to myself, like, comic books are not rare. They are not rare. So that means all 10 of our stores in the same building, we're all going to have the same stuff. So one way I tried to do it was niche it out right away. I was like, well, I really like Spider-Man. So I made it that Spider-Man booth, and to make it so the other stores would unknowingly promote us. And it worked instantly. Everybody was like, oh, Comic Madness said this every. They would always go, oh, go to that Spider-Man booth. And so it was more towards being a viral thing just within that community, where they just said, oh, go to that Spider-Man booth. Go to that Spider-Man booth. So that's basically how the name came about. So I don't know if that was your question, but basically.
Well, like I want to know too, like how you really got started. Like obviously, you started your booth. Like even as a kid, like you said, you could buy one for $1 and then you'd sell it and get 2, and now you got 2 books. And so, how did the business grow? I mean, you started with the booth, and then from there it became this online marketing machine. Like kind of how did that happen?
So basically, it goes with the dollar turning into $2. And having free time. So like you're going to college, you go all to these jobs and stuff, and you're just like, man, I have no time for homework. You're like, I could just sell some of my books, and I could just buy that. This is coming out. This is going to be. I remember one story where like the Chromium 300s came out, and I saw them. I was like, $20 each. What? Like, this is cool. I went to every single booth at one of the major cons, and I got all the money I had, and I bought every single one of them in the thing. It's like, how many do you have? Like 10. I was like, I'll take them all. And I ended up having a bunch. And on eBay, there was none on eBay at all. And I put them, I was like, oh, let me see. Let me put this for like $100. Or I was like, oh, someone bought it within an hour. I'm like, let me put it for $125. And then I just put it like, every time someone would buy it, I would just repost. I was like, man, I don't even have to work. Like this.
Right. This is so easy.
Yeah, like every 3 days, I'd be like, this is more money than I make. I don't do anything. And so that kind of like time saver, being smart with investing, that got me into it. I know you might, if I'm not sure if that's also, it's just very, there's so many mini stories within there.
Oh, I'm sure.
All the pinpoint.
So did it grow to like going to cons and different things and setting up booths at cons and different things? Did that help spur the growth of the company as well?
Yeah, definitely. Cons, what's great about cons is the overhead. Well, not the great part, but the overhead is enormous for cons. People will always be like, what, you have to sell $20,000 to break even? I'm like, yes, it's expensive. You're not free. You're not free. The books aren't free. But basically, what was good with the conventions is that you get your name out there. They get to see you face to face. They trust the brand. They like to support brands and see you face to face. And we built 80% of our client base just by going by cons, and that's the integrity part we have with it. So, when we went to the internet, we get a lot more flack is because they're not like spending time with us in person. It's just easier for them to say stuff.
What kind of started the whole giving the books away? Because dude, you give away sick books. Like, it's no joke what you give away. Those are real grail books. Like, what got that started? Like, again, is it just kind of the marketing aspect of it?
So here's the thing. So, I went to this convention. I saw. So this is a story. We'll never claim. First, this is a side note. We'll never claim that we are the best mystery box ever. There's so many. But we'll always claim that we were the first comic book mystery box. So I went to this convention, and they were selling mystery box, but not comic books. It was toys. And then he told me, he's like, hey, I saw X amount in toys, but in the comic industry, it hadn't gotten to that point yet. It's always been those cheap grab bags, those $1 grab bags, $5 grab bags. It never got to a premium format. Even with Loot Crate being around and stuff, they didn't emphasize the comic book part of it. So there's nothing around. So basically, I was like, oh, let me do a comic book mystery box. I debuted it at one of the conventions, and I told the employee or the workers that were working for us, I said, hey guys, you guys have to sell 6 an hour for us to sell out of this. 6 for each of them. We sold out in 2 hours in the whole store. So people were just like, I was like, whoa. They're just lining up. All of them were tearing up the boxes, looking for the big giveaways. I was like, well, this is crazy. It's like they're going insane for it. And so basically that was the start of the giveaway, knowing that people like that feeling, and they like to, congratulate the people around them. But I would go even before that. When I was younger, it's baseball cards. I collected baseball cards. And that's basically, comic books never had a baseball cards aspect to it. And I would say that, that Mystery Box 2.0 was probably the first format where it was like a baseball card format, So the love of baseball cards kind of translated over to comic books. And
I love that.
I
I
guess
love that because it's almost like
it,
opening a pack of ball cards. I mean, like that's so cool.
it's 100%. I always love that feeling. I always love getting the Ken Griffey Jr., whatever it might be, the whatever it was back then that I was collecting. Back then it was like Upper Deck, Wally Joyner. I don't know. Yeah. So that I put that aspect to this, and I know it's a bold claim to say that we are the first, but major stores. I mean, I'm not going to say any major. They have straight out told me that they copied us, and this was years ago. And then what's hilarious is the artists copied them. These famous artists. And then these other artists copied them. And then when other people would do it, these other artists would get mad for copying them. I'm like, I'm like, you guys, no one invented it. I just kind of evolved it from the grab bag. Grab bags were popular, but nobody did the mystery box. And then it just blew up when the stores started. They give us credit for it. So they tell us that they did it. And then those bigger stores, obviously the artists copy. You guys know what artists copy these guys. So basically, that's I'm kind of ranting, but I don't even know.
No, I love it, man. That's exactly what I was looking for because that's it. That's what I was telling you before we jumped on here live or started recording. Was I find it interesting as someone who has built multiple businesses himself, how you did that with the comic book industry. I find that interesting, and I love those stories. About how that happened because I got 1,000 of those for what I did and the crazy stuff that happened or the pure dumb luck, or how I invented a new product for what we do. I don't know. I just love that stuff, man. So I appreciate you answering that because that's very cool. So, question 3, a lot of people watch YouTube. It's kind of almost like a how-to channel, right? So how to do this or, for different content. And they very rarely, ever get to hear from someone as yourself who's been able to build the business you have directly. So one of the question 3 was like, what advice, would JPG give somebody that's just starting out in the comic book or collectibles game, trying to build something? Like, what's some advice that you would give them?
Buy what you like, plain and simple.
Buy what you like.
Plain and simple. You buy what you like, you'll never have a bad experience in comic book collecting. Buy what you like. That's it. If you wanted to go into detail, you could, but if you went by that one rule, you would never not enjoy collecting.
Cool. So question 4 then, are there any mistakes or things that you would do differently as you've built your company? Is there anything that you would have done differently now?
As far as the company goes,
yeah.
As far as the company goes, we would do nothing differently, nothing at all, because from the point we are right now, with our mission statement, with family and experience, and where we're at is, very much a place that I'm proud of. So to change anything could change past, like a butterfly effect towards, going towards a different path. We're very much, our mission statement is very much family and experience. And so to change anything would not, I would not do anything. But I do, this is a side note.
Sure.
You could, I do have one regret in life. So my mom brings me to antique stores, and this has to do with collecting. So basically, going to antique stores, I always go in there, and there's this art piece, and it's, let me see if I, so there's this original art piece in pencil. It's not this one, but I'm just using this as an example. It's Amazing Fantasy 15 art. I must have been a teenager or 20 or something. And it says on the bottom, Jack Kirby.
Oh my God.
Signed by Jack Kirby. And then it says $5,000. So I go like this. I'm just like, this is one of my heals too, is that I create answers in my head that aren't true. So I go like this. I go, so somebody recreated that. And Jack Kirby signed it. I'm like, 5,000 is a little hefty. Maybe she's like 2,000, 3,000. I'm like, that's probably why it's still here. Years later, I find out that it's a Jack Kirby original art piece. It's not the original. It's a recreation that Jack Kirby did that Marvel recognizes. Actually, called Marvel recognizes. And I saw 8 years ago that it sold for $75,000. And that's 7 years ago. That's priceless. I can't imagine that it's less than a few $100,000. And it's just, that's the only regret in life I have. No regrets in life. All the things I've done or whatever. But I was just like, me just not asking a question. I could have totally been like, Mom, just give me $5,000. I'll just owe you my life. You know? Like my mom bought me like Amazing Fantasy 15 one, X-Men one. Like, so for her to do that, she kind of understands the collecting mentality. She might have, you know?
Right, yeah, you should ask.
I don't know. You know, you can't, unless you ask the unreasonable question, you don't know what the answer is going to be, you know?
I love that so much because that's true. So anybody that's watching this, I mean, seriously, in business and really in anything, if you're wanting to get into something, you just got to do it. Like I said, doing the YouTube channel or asking the question. Hell, who knows? Your mom might have said yes, and you might have had a $250,000 Jack Kirby, original piece of art.
I probably would have sold it at $30,000.
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if for some reason I bought it and like didn't know that it like went up like to 75,000, because it's a lot of money for somebody. Maybe right now, like I'd be like, oh crap, that's cool. I have this as a centerpiece on my wall, but 8 years ago when it sold for 75,000, I'd be like, whoa, I'm rich.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I would have done the same thing. Yeah. Because I'm like that too. So question 5, and this kind of circles back to more that Spider-Man booth and really even Street Level Heroes Los Angeles is like, how do you go about hooking up with these artists to do all these sick covers? Because those covers are sick, brother. And how do you hook that up?
So it's more on the publisher's end, and all of them do them slightly different, like DC, Marvel, IDW especially. And if it's especially like a Star Wars thing, it's a mess of approvals because you got to get Lucasfilm to approve it, IDW, and Marvel. So it's just a nightmare for approval. But basically, you go to the publisher. Well, the publisher actually goes to you and says, hey, we have these open for variants. You guys want to do them? And you check the list, be like, damn, that looks interesting. That looks interesting. Oh, and then you see the artist, you match them up. You'd be like, I think Tyler Kirkham's he kills it on Venom. So you see, oh, there's a Venom. Let's request them, right? Let's request them and request a concept. And then you try and match them. David Nakayama's killing it on the negative space and girls. We got super lucky with that. And from there, they say, okay, yeah, you could have Tyler, you could have David. And then from there, you talk to the publishers back and forth about the concept, and it goes and it comes to fruition. It's a lot of like back and forth, a lot of approval processes because Marvel has an image to uphold. Well, we have a quality that we want, so it's a lot of like back and forth. But it's just like I think we were talking before off camera. It's basically no substitute for hard work. It's just hard work, hard work.
So it's not as easy as just calling up, hey, Tyler Kirkham, I'd like for you to do a variant cover for me. How much do you charge? It's not anything like that. It is literally, it comes from the publishers down, and then you kind of match up and end up with what you get.
Yeah, it's something, you definitely have to have like, strong will to get stuff, or like, just a workhorse. If you're a workhorse and you're able to go back and handle variables, then you're fine. And plus it's art and like creation, so it's fun. But also at the same time, we want to get the, Dave is killing it on the new covers and, that innovative stuff. We always, in varied covers, it's very much, the thing very much, which I am not against, plus we do a lot as well, is homages, right? But we go to homages maybe 1 out of every 10. We want to innovate and create new classics. And so basically to get new classics, it's just like, oh my gosh, how do you do something new? Everything's been done before. How do you hit them at the right time? And but everybody's putting in a ton of work, hard work. You guys might not like it because it's opinionated, but definitely the hard work is there.
So do you have a say in what the artist actually draws or, creates? Like, do you sit down with Tyler Kirkham, for example, and say, okay, I'd like
Yeah.
this?
You do not. You do not talk to the artists. That's like a big no-no. Obviously,
Okay.
you talk to the artists around the things. But as far as like concept and Marvel's like strict on that. DC is strict on it. So there's a lot of stuff in contract that you're not supposed to do. But you could still work hard and get it towards what you want, because you'd be like, hey, Tyler Kirkham, I want this 181 homage or this, that, whatever. Well, can you send this idea to Tyler? Yeah. And obviously, Tyler's my friend. But as far as those little interactions, you're not supposed to do.
I got you. Okay, cool. So, question 6, and obviously that Spider-Man booth has a lot of its own variants, exclusive variants, different things, and the secondary market and really just the comic book market itself has seen a lot of these variants go for a lot of money. Like if the right one hits, they're a lot of money. And I was interested to know your thoughts on if you think the variant market is like a true bubble and at some point it'll burst. Like most businesses, the business cycle is real. I don't care what you do, and things are going to go up and down, up and down. But as far as like the variant market, what do you see with the future of that?
Well, I think with the variant market, there's a couple things, right? So people like this is. I'll just use an example. People like to relate this to the '90s, but there's a couple huge difference from the '90s variant comics to the new variant comics. So the '90s variant comics, they're throwing out covers, but they're making millions, hundreds of thousands of variants, where people were buying hundreds at a time, right? And you guys, we're not supposed to discuss print runs on exclusive store, but you guys know those. You guys have an idea how low those print runs. They're incredibly low. So I don't even think it's at a bubble because the supply is so depleted. It's just incredible. If anybody, like that David Nakayama cover, if anybody likes the cover and it shoots, they're just gone. They're gone. You could probably get them on eBay, secondhand market. Maybe you get it for a cheap price. Maybe, but they'll probably be the jacked up ones or whatever. They're just out and they're ghosts. And if you look at all the top books of the last 10 years, they're all variant comics, all of them. Even the Edge of Spider-Verse 2, I know that's not a retailer, a store exclusive, but that's a variant. All those, my Ultimate Fallout, it's supply and, I guess it's
supply and demand.
It's basically supply and demand, but I'm just kind of relating it to comic books.
No, that makes total sense, because if there's not a big supply and something gets hot or there's a high demand for it, obviously the price goes up, right? So, that makes sense. That's interesting. I'm glad, I asked you that question, because I always kind of wondered what your take, who is in that business every day, kind of dealing with that, what they really saw.
And there's one other thing too. In the '90s, they didn't have this. Right now, Star Wars is probably the #1 brand for this moment. But for the last 10 years, it's been Marvel, right? They didn't have that support system where the whole world knows about Marvel, and all the investors are trying to get into it. So that, and then also too with the variant comics, people like to support the artists. Say if you like Tyler, say if you like David Nakayama, say if you like Lucio, and there's that little amount, and they have hundreds of thousands of fans, and then we have a huge reach too between the partners. And so that getting out there and you guys sharing on YouTube, those covers are going to be wanted throughout time. So I don't think it has anywhere close to it. And because variant books are store exclusives are very expensive, not everybody wants to dip their toes into it. That's why you see these few that are dipping because it's a huge risk. So I don't think there's a bubble. I don't even think it's close to them. I think things do move in cycles, like you said, 100%. I believe it. I just don't think it's anywhere close unless you see, unless someone watches this interview, be like, oh shoot, and like 400 people be like, okay, let's do, then that's different. Obviously, it could change overnight. Right now, unless everybody takes out their life savings and takes out $500,000 loans and puts it in the bearing company, it's going to be limited for quite some time.
Cool. Great answer, man. I'm so glad I asked you that question. And I like the perspective on it too. So, all right. So question 7, a little lighthearted question, is because like to me, from where I sit, you don't stop. Like you're working all the time. You're either live on IG or you're live on YouTube or both at the same time. You're on Facebook. You're hopping on a plane going somewhere to a signing, whatever. So what is a typical day like for JPG? And before you answer that, a little caveat to that question is, what is your caffeine intake a day?
Okay, so basically, every single day is a little bit different, but everything is in common with every single day of the week is that it's just working, like just hard work. I believe there's no substitute for hard work, so I take that seriously. So every single day is a little different. I could give you my day today. So 4 a.m. I woke up, made myself a little cup of Java, right? And then from 4 to 6:30, I was getting all the emails ready for the email blast and all the things tonight. As you can see, I think you messaged me earlier too about something. And then about at 6:30 a.m., I have a meeting with the fulfillment manager on anything that is going on with shipping or this person, and be like, hey, or if anything has any anything that needs to be done and taken care of, like what went on like yesterday. I'll be like, hey, you guys don't need to go into details, but there's obviously so many moving parts for this not big of operation. We're not big, but we're also not small. So, so basically there, I was prepping for I had a show at 1 p.m. Just ended, right before I got on with you, this interview like 30 minutes ago. So we were on for the last 3 hours or something like that. Do this interview with you. I'm making it a point to be a little bit more involved with the community. You were probably the first person I've ever said yes to, I believe. Before I used to always say yes. I must have said no to like 20 other people. But now, Facebook Fridays, I'm going to be a little bit more involved with the community to see, the overall outlook of it. Let's see what else. After, we have Everyday Live at 5. I go on live every day at 5 just to hang out with the supporters of that Spiderman booth and Street Level Hero. And then at 6, I'm going to do a podcast with Don't Forget About Us. And then at 7, I got to get all the stuff that we sold quite a bit today in order for them so that they could ship them efficiently. And also, I guess. And there's also in between there, I must have missed, there's creative conversations with the partners and all the designers and everybody that we have going on. So it's just an action-packed day every day.
Sure.
And then after, second, we always talk about second shift. I always talk about second shift because after Everyday Live at 5, I have more to do.
Yeah, putting in that work, man. That's the deal, right?
Caffeine intake. So
yes, caffeine intake.
Morning, and then in the afternoons, they always have a new thing for me, like a Red Bull, a Bang, or something like that. Then maybe I have another one coffee. So it's probably like 2 to 6 cups of whatever drinks a day. It's just bad.
Hey, look, I pretty much suck on a coffee all day long, and until probably 5:30, 6 o'clock, and that's when I'm generally headed home. Mm-hmm. And I come home a little early tonight just so I was ready for you, in this interview. But and then I got a Pepsi One that I'm sitting here drinking, so that'll get me through the evening, and hopefully I'll be able to go to sleep tonight. So I feel you on the caffeine intake, man. Oh, yeah. All right, so question 8, and I've asked pretty much everybody, and I know it has to have had an impact on you, is how has COVID impacted your business?
Oh, so it's a moving, it's moving parts all the time. So whether it's like just right now, we have 2 part-timers quarantining, quarantine protocols. And then one of the other weeks, we had another person quarantined through contact through somebody. But then with the distributors as well, sometimes they completely shut down. and then we need backup plans, or like, do we have enough of that inventory? So it's definitely been moving parts. We've been able to basically sidestep it more than most people, and although we've been hit, we've gotten very lucky, but not like a complete shutdown, or basically, even when a couple people are out, I'm like, okay, instead of 2 shifts, sometimes I do triple shift. Those are a little rough because graveyard's a little tiring. Like getting two hours of sleep is a lot different than getting 4 to 6.
Sure.
So I just pulled triple shifts, but I guess that's.
Has it affected anything, like not being able to go to the cons and doing things like that, or even buying books, like for example, for a mystery box, be able to buy some older books, or even the giveaways that you're doing? Has it affected any of that?
I guess I didn't even mention the biggest thing. So we were at Frankenson's Convention Center for 10 years. Right when I'm a big NBA fan, so right when the NBA suspended its season, because we were paying. We were paying $3,300 a month to be at this spot, and it was open 3 days a week, and we did well. But I was like, NBA shutdown. Whoa, maybe this is real. What the heck? I love the NBA. They suspended their season. This is like a movie. I never thought for 10 years ever that we would leave Frankenson's. That right when they suspended the season, that second I said we're out of Frankenson's, because I did that. We saved whatever $16,000 in rent or whatever that wasn't open. They were closed, and plus now it takes hours to get in the building because there's protocol in the building. So the sales weren't going to go back up. So I was just like, our whole goal anyway was to tour the nation. Bring TSMB and SLHLA to bring the full experience to basically the United States with all the conventions. So I was like, that's part of our next mission statement anyway. So let's use this money that we're going to save. We're going to do that. But 2020 didn't have any conventions, and we were going to do as many as possible. So 2020 definitely was supposed to be all conventions, and we're going to do all of them. 2021, obviously they're not starting till September, so it's definitely a 2-year adjustment. Well, the good thing is that the website came up a little bit more because there's a little bit more emphasis to it, and systemizing everything. So I guess, yes, that was the biggest thing. I didn't even mention the hugest thing. We had so many messages still about people wanting us to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. What about actually working with the companies, for the publishers like Marvel and DC? Did any of that affect, like trying to get with your artists to get the covers that you want and those things? Did any of that get affected?
Oh yeah, I would almost say at every point. DC. You guys know the story of DC. They moved around, and DC has been, I don't want to say a mess, but it's been different. Obviously they're working hard over there, but it's definitely been different. With the expectations of what they were once capable of doing. So I mean, it's on a bunch of other areas. I don't want to get into specifics, then I might have to name some names that I don't want to name.
Sure, totally understand.
Yeah, it's like you'd be like, oh.
All right. So question 9, and this is probably as far as I don't know, it's the question, that I don't want to ask necessarily, but I feel like I want to as well, because with your success, and I know this from a personal level as well, when you have success, not only does the success rise, but the hate rises too. And it comes out of the woodwork. So how do you deal with the haters? People who trash that Spiderman booth, or Street Level Heroes LA, how do you deal with that?
So currently we don't deal with it. So our whole philosophy is to spend our energy in building stuff, instead of, almost like, let's say you're trying to put the fuse out to a bunch of little tiny bombs, instead of creating, a bomb-proof, beautiful castle. So we know, like, from the beginning that, it could take you out of your whole day's work. And I do so much in a day. I was like, wow, I just wasted this day for maybe not petty, but trying to put out fires that 95% of them are generated through hearsay and through things that are not correct. Do I go and correct hundreds of these comments that are false? No, you just build a better system and keep using your energy to build something beautiful and something you can be proud of later. You think about LeBron James, you think about Kobe. I know you're a sports fan. The most hated players while they were playing, 1 and 2 was Kobe and LeBron. But you go on the most loved players, and they're number 1 and 2. So yeah, we want to build into, or we want to spend our energy into building, something that we could be proud of, and all this stuff with all the producing of the variant covers and all that stuff in the systems and getting everything to everybody, at a cheap price. It takes work. So if you're spending your time talking to when there's 7,000 people that rely on you to build something better than you're spending your time on 7 people, that's not a good use of your time. So,
gotcha. Great answer, man. And the other thing too, I want to ask, like, I know for myself, usually I could just ignore all that, right? Like and I'm talking personally, I would do what you said. I would try to take that negative energy, turn it into positive, and build a better system or a better brand for my customers and the people who appreciated what we were doing. But sometimes it would get to me. Like, it didn't happen a lot, but it would occasionally get to me. And then, does that ever happen to you? I mean, you're about my age, a little bit younger than me.
Well, 100%. It's tough when you get these. This one guy was definitely putting us on blast, saying that we did stuff. But sometimes people, when they put companies or whatever on blast, they don't actually put out the whole story, right? So it's just like, okay, and he's like, oh, they didn't want us to refund them, which was false. We said we'll take it, and then but he felt that he deserved the T-shirt. We're like, no, you need to send everything back. I mean, and then it's just and then he has this a giveaway, bad retailer giveaway or something, and starts tagging me. I was just like, oh. It's like, but it bothers me. But at the end of the day, I'm okay with myself and our company when so much is built on fake. Yeah, you would say fake news or false hearsay, and I could see why people get riled up, like their followers, when they're trusting these people on false information. But everybody's almost doing it. Even people that they assume or create stories in their head about like how our system works or things like this, which is 100% false. But I'm not going to say, hey, that's wrong. It's just too much energy.
Gotcha, man. Great answer. I love that answer.
You're 100% correct. I do, when I see it and I see like these customers also too, like, hey, JP, and they come into the chat. But in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to move forward to like, okay, I know what you said about us. I know what you said about us, but you're back here and saying hello, saying nice things, even though yesterday you said this about us. So maybe I should count it as a win that we turned them, or that they have, their emotions are not in line with
right.
themselves.
No. Makes total sense, man. And like I said, it is hard, and it's something I've experienced myself personally. Not, mine has been more local, regionally, things like that. You're all over the internet, right? So you're going to get that from every direction. But I like the way that you talk about it and the positivity and trying to take that negative and making what you do better. And that's all you really can do at the end of the day, because you're not going to satisfy everybody. And that's just the way it is. All right. So last question. This is question 10. And I'm just interested to know, and I'm sure people out there who don't know would love to know, does JPG still collect anything? And if you do, what do you collect?
Yeah, so the fiance it's in line with your 10 questions. The fiance, she only lets me have 10 comic books in my deck. 10 art pieces in my collection and 10 toys in my collection. So, you know, it's fun because when I was younger, I used to write my top 10 books. So, like, I need to get them. Amazing Fantasy 15, Amazing Spider-Man 300. So 10 books, 10 toys. And then, like, when I get something I want, I have to kick one of the 10 out, you know? And right now I have 11. So maybe let me show your Small Town Collectibles family the 11, and then you guys can tell me which one to kick out.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely do that.
So we got Amazing Spider-Man 14, but it has a sketch by Stan Lee, like a little Spider-Man. So I think that's what makes it exquisite. You guys know I like exquisite things. Amazing Spider-Man 375. It's the Air Edition. By Todd Bagley and what else is it? Oh, Stan Lee. Supposedly there's only 10 of these in the world, but you know I don't always believe that. But supposedly there's only 10. That's 2. We have the Malibu Sun 13, but this is not the Malibu Sun 13. This is the Air Edition. I think there's 2 of these in the world in 9.8. I have 1. So I wish I was the only one, but there is someone else with 1. Edge of Spider-Verse 2. I just like Spider-Gwen.
Yeah.
That's 4. Batman Adventures 12, UPC. I like Harley Quinn. You know, my books aren't so expensive. At the same time, it's what I like.
Right, sure. TMT, yep.
Yeah, this is the second print. I wish it was the first print. I actually hit up someone I knew that had the first print. I almost did it, you know, 75,000. Maybe that's a steal now, but I don't know. Spider-Man 300. Of course, I have to have this. It's not. I mean, it's been going up a lot lately, but it's very much not rare or exquisite. I've had hundreds, maybe 500 of those. Amazing Spider-Man 120 and out. This is my second favorite book, Death of Gwen.
Yeah.
And Amazing Fantasy 15, just a 3.5. I've had a few of these. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. Wait, what am I missing?
Oh, we gotta do it like Spinal Tap and turn it up one more.
We got the Black Panther.
Oh, it's a beauty. Yeah.
Probably they made 100 of these. I don't know. But this is the highest grade in the world too. And then we got the Turtle Mania. I got a 10.0, the Turtle Mania 100. So that's the 11 books. Tell me which book is your least favorite. But if your least favorite is Amazing Fantasy 15, TMNT,
you're wrong.
21, it's not the correct answer. Those 4 have been my favorite 4 since I was like a teenager.
If it were me, it would have been, of all the ones that you showed me, it would be the Spider-Gwen book. Just the ones that you showed me. And so, yeah, the people watching, you're watching this, down in the comments, tell us which book JPG should get rid of, and I'll pass that along to him, and then maybe we help him decide how to cull his collection and help his fiance keep him in line with his 10 books.
Oh, also to just make the answer plain and simple, I collect what I like. So call back to what you new collectors should be doing. Collect what you like.
Collect what you like, man. I think that's a great answer, and that is a phenomenal way to end our interview. JPG, just real quick, not that everybody in the world doesn't know this, but tell us where you're at all during the week, like Monday Mania, Insta Monday. Kind of lay all that out to us just real quick.
Okay, so it's on Monday, we have our 2 shows, Monday Mania, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and Insta Mondays, our headliner, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we give out stuff. We have giveaways and claim sales. And then we have Wild Wednesdays, which is Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then on Friday, we have Freaky Facebook Fridays with friends and fam. And that's 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook. And of course, our websites are thatspidermanbook.com, the classic, and then SLHLA.com. So thatspidermanbook.com is family and experience, and SLHLA.com is lifestyle and culture.
Love it. And also there's apps, for your devices. And there are app codes that come out from time to time that are strictly app codes, and that's a phenomenal. And it's actually a really easy app to use. Like the way that you use it, I mean, it's great. Like it's really easy to use when I'm doing, Insta Monday or Monday Mania, whatever, and you get to go through the collection and you're going through, and it's easy to kind of navigate and it's easy to check out and all those things. So it's really cool. The app is probably my favorite part, actually, as far as the ease of using it.
Oh, awesome! Thank you for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, JPG, man, I so appreciate you agreeing to come on. I feel honored that I'm the first person you said yes to in some time. I truly do, man. I admire what you're doing and what you're trying to do for the community. As far as all the books you give away, because like I said, if you don't know who this guy is and you don't know who Street Level Heroes LA or that Spider-Man booth is, go and watch the show on Monday. Now it's 8:30 my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. I think it's 5:30 in California where JPG's at.
5 p.m. Pacific Standard
Time. 5 p.m.
It's the Mondays, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So go and just watch the books that he gives away, and it will blow your mind. Like I couldn't believe it when I first found you, and I started watching it. I was like, how the hell is this guy making any money? I was like, he's giving all these books away.
One of these books might be there. You guys got to vote it out. If the fiance sees it, she's definitely going to have me give one of these away.
So we have to help our boy out. We've got to help him get rid of a book so that he stays out of the doghouse with the lady. No, man, but look, brother, I so appreciate it. I really do. And guys, if you're watching here, we appreciate all the support we've been getting. Definitely go over, check out Street Level Heroes LA and that Spider-Man booth. I promise you will not be sorry. And JPG, thank you for coming on 10 Questions.
Thank you. You're welcome.